As you know by now, I'm Brian Brown. I'm an executive creative director, been at Razorfish, and before that, Sapient, since 2012. But before there, I've always had a deep, deep love of technology and art. This is my most beloved piece of hardware that I've ever owned and is partially responsible for where I am today. This is the Amiga 500 computer, which came out in 1989. When the Amiga was launched by Commodore, they did it by giving it to Andy Warhol so that he could paint Debbie Harry live on stage at the announcement. So this machine was always connected to multimedia, creation of art, creation of music. I never actually realized when I was a kid and I was pushing around pixels trying to recreate scenes from my favorite Star Trek movie, that would actually turn into a career for me. I'm at Razorfish, and Razorfish is a company that focuses on digital marketing transformation. Now, part of digital marketing transformation is kind of reading the tea leaves a bit and understanding what new technologies are going to hit and what's not going to hit so that we can help companies and brands figure out how to integrate them into their world and in what spaces they should be playing. Okay, so I'm going to talk about story a bit because story in digital is a big part of what you're going to be hearing about throughout the day. I think it's really important, it was really transformational for me to realize that stories are so deeply connected to our survival as humans. We are here today because we learned to tell stories and express stories in a bunch of different ways. Whether that story is boll weevils will definitely ruin your crop, you shouldn't talk to bears in the woods, or that the call is coming from inside the house, they serve as ways for us to educate each other to help us survive and get through life, but also to entertain and inform as a form of education. This is a cave painting that is 43,000 years old. It was found in Indonesia relatively recently. What's interesting about this, if you think about it, this is technology developed and invented to express story. Somebody found dyes and found the right plants to crush up so that they can create a story on a wall that is telling a retelling of a hunt that was successful and all the heroes in that hunt, right? And painted it on a wall by sharpening sticks and creating early brushes because their need to relive that moment and tell other people about it was so great that it lasted 43,000 years. And I like to think about this too, going back to that campfire image, this was in a cave. There would have been a campfire in front of it with the light dancing off of all the paintings of the warriors and the animals and stuff like that, which were over exaggerated. This is not the full thing here, but the oxen or whatever they're fighting is huge. There's little people with sticks. It's very, very cool. But it's not just about telling new and unique stories. We're so addicted to stories that we will hear the same story over and over and over again through new technology to get more out of it. This is a clay tablet that is a piece of the earliest recording of the Epic of Gilgamesh, if you remember that from high school or college. The Epic of Gilgamesh is an epic tale which includes a story about a big flood. That big flood happened around 2100 BC, and this tablet was written 1,000 years later. So the story of the flood, an entire millennial had passed before it was actually written down in a new form, going out of people just talking about it to people sharing it in a different way. 1,000 years after that, it ended up in the Bible. And 2,000 years after that, we got Russell Crowe telling us the story again in the 2014 summer blockbuster, Noah. And so this is to say that we will continue to consume stories. If you're a Joseph Campbell fan, Heroes of a Thousand Faces, you might know that. And so new medias bring new opportunities for us to tell old stories. Another piece that's really interesting to me is that new media not only give us a new way to experience the story at a superficial level, but they can actually change the story and its effect on us. Somebody who knew this really, really, really well, that I'm a huge fan of, is this guy, Orson Welles. Orson Welles was not only a master storyteller, but also a master of the medium in which he told stories. His ability to affect people emotionally with the stories that he told was really, really predicated on his deep understanding of the media that he was working with and his willingness to break the social contract that you all have when you experience a story on a certain media. Famously, he put ceilings in Citizen Kane, right? That was a big deal. Nobody shot ceilings before. In the Mercury Theater Company in 1938, he did an adaptation of War of the Worlds for radio. War of the Worlds is a story by H.G. Wells that was written 1890-ish, I think. The thing about this was he didn't just do the story of War of the Worlds on radio. He transposed the story to have an effect in the radio format. And I'm going to show you one of my favorite examples in history of mastery of a medium to cause an effect.
We are bringing you an eyewitness account of what's happening on the Wilmuth Farm, Grover's Mill, New Jersey. We now return you to Carl Phillips at Grover's Mill.
Ladies and gentlemen, am I on? Ladies and gentlemen, here I am, back of a stone wall that adjoins Mr. Wilmuth's garden. From here, I get a sweep of the whole scene. I'll give you every detail as long as I can talk and as long as I can see. Yes, I believe it's Professor Pearson. Yes, it is. Now they've parted, and the professor moves around one side, studying the object, while the captain and two policemen advance with something in their hands.
This is all being done live, right? This isn't pre-recorded. There's people in a room making this up live, and it's being broadcasted.
Know what that means?
So all the sound effects and stuff you hear are happening in a room.
Wait a minute, something's happening. Humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror. What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror, and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. Lord, they're turning into flames. Now the whole field's caught up by the woods, the barns, the gas tanks of the automobiles spreading everywhere. It's coming this way now, about 20 yards to my right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from Grover's Mill. Evidently, there's some difficulty with our field transmission. However, we will return to that point at the earliest opportunity. In the meantime, we have a late bulletin from San Diego.
So the radio listening audience in 1938 probably weren't directly aware that dead air is the biggest no-no on radio. But when they heard it and had never heard it before, that's the moment they lost their minds. And there's that shot I showed you of Orson Welles holding his hands up. It's great, I love it. There's a room full of people and they're all waiting for him to put his hand down. So he's counting, he's like silence, because he knew that, right? They also did some other fabulous things. I could do an entire presentation on War of the Worlds. They timed their news broadcasts to commercials on their competitive stations so people would channel surf, right? So I'm channel surfing, and then they cut to the musical performance that they're listening to, and then it does the break to capture and pull people in. It was genius. Of course, this happened the year before, too, so this is something that Orson Welles was fully aware of.
Basically standing still now, they've dropped ropes out of the nose of the ship. The back motors of the ship are just holding it just enough to keep it from burst into flame. Get it started. It's fighting and it's crashing terrible. Oh my, get out of the way, please. It's bursting into flames and it's falling on the mooring mast and all the folks between it. This is terrible. This is one of the worst catastrophes in the world. Oh, it's 400 or 500 feet into the sky. It's a terrific crash, ladies and gentlemen. The smoke and the flames now, and the frame is crashing to the ground. Oh, the humanity.
So he used the Hindenburg disaster as the format for his aliens destroying the reporters at Grover's Mill. It caused a lot of terror. A lot of people did some real dumb things that day. I won't get into it. They made him apologize publicly for being too good at his job, essentially, right? Coming out and say, God, I'm really sorry. I didn't actually intend to trick everybody. But of course he did, and it was Halloween night, and come on, right? But the point that I wanted to get to here is that when new media is introduced, there's a superficial transition. It becomes the old media moved into the new media with whatever the technology change is applied to it, right? I Love Lucy was a radio show called My Favorite Husband before it was a television show. Dragnet was a radio show. Gunsmith was a radio show. Guiding Light was a radio show before it became a soap opera. If you add the radio show years plus the soap opera years, Guiding Light was on the air for 75 years. Isn't that amazing? It's like the Archers in the UK. But most of these things were radio with pictures, right? Radio before that was plays broadcast, right? It takes you a while for true innovation to happen. Desi Lu, the production company owned by Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball, certainly did that. They invented the 3-camera setup for the sitcom during I Love Lucy. This had never been done before, and it's being used today for sitcoms. But it takes you a long time before the technology actually changes those stories inherently to a place where the stories could never be told in another medium. Twin Peaks is my favorite example of that. Twin Peaks could never exist on any other medium. It is a show about television as much as it is anything else. And Mike Frost and David Lynch are also breaking the social contract that you as a TV viewer have when you're watching Twin Peaks and playing with those formats in a way to pull you in and make it more weird and more fabulous. So much so that even in the first season of Twin Peaks, they made a soap opera that everyone is watching in Twin Peaks that is a mirror. It's transposed into a melodrama. This can happen very, very quickly. Before YouTube was acquired by Google, back in the very, very early days, 2005, 2006, we had Lonely Girl. I don't know if anybody remembers Lonely Girl. Who remembers Lonely Girl? Right? Okay, cool. Lonely Girl was a blogger who was telling the story. She was a homeschool girl about her life with her parents who were kind of weird. She didn't understand anything. And it turns out she was an actor hired by these people to tell this story that was a horror story about her parents being in this cult and all these things evolved. And this was right in the beginning of video being available online, right? And so this won a bunch of Webbies, which I'm like, I didn't even know there were Webbies in 2005. I didn't win any in 2005, that's for sure. So let's get into where we are today with the time that we have left. So moving into emerging technology now, so thinking about AI, right? So there's certainly some superficial application of AI to storytelling. This is the latest season of True Detective. I'm not sure if you guys saw this. It kind of blew up. The poster in the background of this scene, clearly AI generated. It says Metal US Tour second live with like some Kiss-like wannabe band. I don't know if somebody in the art department was just having a fun time or if they're really smart and using AI as a way to gain more attention, which might also be true, and that would be kind of cool. This is from the marketing material from Fallout. These cars have their front on their back. There's a bunch of other weird things that are happening in here as well. And so that is like, okay, so we can augment the capabilities of the art department with using AI, but AI can also be used in a bunch of other really interesting ways. So famously, Netflix greenlit Stranger Things using machine learning data from what people were searching for on their platform. Right now, they're using AI to create personalized versions of trailers for all their upcoming shows for you. So the trailers are not AI generated. AI is assembling the trailer from a library of content from the show so that you get a version of the trailer that's most appealing to you when you watch the show. Because everybody loves personalization. Hyper-personalization is the dream of all agencies, that everybody sees one version of the ad that mentions their mother and everybody in it looks just like them. Workflows are a creative language. I just wanted to quickly touch on some work that we just did for Visit Orlando with Google that was just shown at Cannes. This is a way that we can use AI workflows to generate a bunch of content that we haven't been able to generate before.
Orlando is unbelievably real. A fantastical place full of iconic theme parks and characters. But Visit Orlando wants people to explore beyond them, to find the amazing places that don't have the time or money to market like theme parks, but still deserve to feel big. Meet the Morlandos, a cast of characters inspired by real travel stories that unlock creativity and level up hidden gems all around Orlando. It's an impossible project made possible by Visit Orlando and Google AI. We started with real Google reviews, then used them to generate thousands of unique characters. It all centered around a custom Vertex agentic system, scraping stacks of comments left by Orlando visitors, with that agent serving us key phrases and prompt chaining between Gemini and Imagine to turn those words into wonder. Now,
so we data mined Google reviews for locations in Orlando and created stories from them using an AI and had those stories create characters. And then those characters we plopped on a map and geolocated to those places for
Encounter
people to
them
go
in
find
YouTube pre-roll spots
using
created
augmented
with
reality.
VO2,
And this was essentially
leading people to visit
4 weeks worth of
Orlando.com
work.
to dig into
So we
deeper
generated
storytelling, courtesy of
hundreds of
Gemini,
these characters
Magic, and
once we
VO2,
built the
of
system
course.
that had all of our
Influencer
style guide
posts
stuff
showing
worked
how
into it and what the
surreal it is
characters
to
should
find
look
the
like.
characters using AR.
And this is rolling out throughout the
The
year.
Morlandos expand the Orlando map in ways never before possible, with impossible efficiency scaling research, making 1,200 characters, almost 30 hours of campaign content, and more. Showing why thousands of Orlando experiences are unbelievably real.
Just to move forward for sake of time, AI and LiDAR mixed together, and this is a very, very tactical thing, but the combination of these two tools is allowing for cinematographers to capture shots like they probably never could have captured before. So what you're seeing here is an example of some like really, really tight depth of field focused on this person's face, right? So you see the bokeh effect in the back, he's getting closer and further away from the camera. And before AI and LiDAR, this effect in camera would have been extraordinarily difficult with somebody pulling focus kind of constantly. So you're seeing AI augment the capabilities of people. It's not about AI replacing people, it's about AI being used as a creative tool by those people to get more out of it. Actors' performances are becoming more fluid. This is a tool by Flawless called TrueSync. I'll just play this.
Now we're stuck on this stupid tower in the middle of nowhere. And I don't blame you, and now we're stuck on this stupid freaking tower in the middle of freaking nowhere.
Right, so AI has mapped her
It's all my
face,
fault.
it's
¿Qué
cloned
veces
her
que digo
voice,
es?
didn't replace the actor, but allowed for different
Es
cuts,
todo
different
por mi culpa.
languages pretty quickly. And then we've got this device, the Apple Vision Pro. The amazing thing about the Apple Vision Pro is immersive experience from Solartel. And this counts for the Meta devices as well. Apple knows that the thing that's going to sell these devices is not going to be the killer app, it's going to be killer content. And they also know that if you can create a visceral emotional reaction in people when you're telling a story that they cannot experience on any other device, it'll drive people's need to have this device. And that's why they created Drowning, the movie. This movie, if you've seen Submerged, this is about a submarine sinking, and it's filling with water, right? And I can tell you, as a person who has a mild fear of drowning, it is not pleasant to experience, and I can feel it deep down here when you watch it. They also created Fear of Heights, the movie, and they created Fear of Rhinos, the movie. So the immersive wildlife thing is like a rhino right in your face, and just talking about our primordial connection to things back to the campfire and the cave paintings. My brain goes, get away now, right? I am completely tricked. That being said, I don't think Jump Scare the movie is really gonna move the needle on like progressing the storytelling forward, but Apple is aware of this. Couple other quick points. The metaverse is dead. Long live the metaverse. We did some metaverse work back in 2021, 2022 for Samsung called 837X. It was fun at the time. It was on a corporate metaverse platform called Decentraland. Corporate because a bunch of brands went in there and tried to own the space. But the thing about the metaverse is not a platform. It doesn't describe a platform, it describes a behavior. And people have been creating their own user-generated worlds for a very long time, and they're still doing it. And I'm gonna give you an example of that. Grand Theft Auto 5, if you've heard of this game came out 13 years ago, and people are still playing this game, and they're doing it by creating their own servers with a heavily modded version of the game that doesn't have any game in it at all, it's just them. I have a friend who's a live streamer. He worked at a bar in San Andreas for a year before he could save up enough money to buy a bakery. He owns a bakery in the game space. They have these things called role-playing servers. There's a bunch of them. They're amazing. They all have their own rules, and the main rule across all of them is you are always in character when you're in the game. I'm gonna show you a quick example.
I'm interested in being a police officer for
This person's applying for a job as a police officer in the game.
I want to protect and I want to serve.
All right. Well, where do you see yourself?
In a mirror.
2 weeks.
Wait, is that a rogue heli? What the?
Yeah, a little bit.
What's up, Sweeney?
Assault on a government employee. Why do you have this record?
Wait, I got
What is this?
that record's really not that bad. Stop the car! Stop the car! Stop it! Get out! What's up?
All right. Govs, the commander there. Congratulations on your promotion.
Wait.
Congratulations, sir. Well done.
Oh, shit. Yo, thank you,
Excellent
guys.
job yesterday as well.
Very, very close to the end. So game engines are now storytelling engines because these worlds are being created by people, right? It's a little more difficult to just be a brand and come in and own these spaces, but if you can understand the culture within those spaces, there are opportunities there. And these game engines, famously, are turning into film production engines. If you've seen The Mandalorian, that's Epic and Disney working together, right? And so more and more and more, there's content that is being made in these virtual studios where you have 3D spaces that represent real worlds and they're connected to the camera, so the movement's all working together. But the cool thing about that is you've built all these things in 3D in a game engine. You now have this entire world in a game engine, so you can transpose that to a different experience and let your fans and viewers experience that world on their own terms in a different device, like VR in a game space, much more easily than you could before. And we have friends here from Disney. I know Disney knows this too. And last year, they announced a big investment into Epic Games, and they're going to start moving some of their worlds into virtual spaces. And that's not just Disney, it's Marvel, Star Wars, ESPN. I'm thinking about the Apple Vision Pro too. You have these environments where you can watch things. What if the environment changes as the settings are changing in the film that you're watching, right? And you can interact with things. So as you're moving into all the new technologies and new forms of storytelling that you're hearing today and tomorrow throughout the rest of the conference, have in the back of your head like how you can tell or use the new technology to focus on a piece of a story that may not be new, but allows you to tell it in a way that you've never been told before. And if you can do that, your customers will come, and you will be celebrated for being able to do that. Or don't. You can actually do the opposite, and that's a viable thing too, because I'm gonna leave you with this wonderful quote from Brian Eno. Whatever you find weird, ugly, uncomfortable, and nasty about new medium will surely become its signature. CD distortion, the jitteriness of digital video, the crap sound of 8-bit, all of these will be cherished and emulated as soon as they can become avoided. Because what happens when the main medium moves into a new medium is the old medium changes too. And that's awesome. Thank you very much.